You've probably heard about it. This massive legal settlement back in 2024 that was supposed to blow up the entire real estate industry. But did it? What actually happened when the dust settled? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. So the whole story kicks off with this huge number, $418 million. I mean, wow. That's what the National Association of Realtors, or NAR, had to fork over to settle these massive lawsuits. But it wasn't just about the money. This settlement promised to completely change the game for how agents get paid. And you know what happened next, right? The headlines just exploded. They were calling it a commission apocalypse. Everyone was saying, hey, agent commissions are going to crash, home buyers are going to save billions. It was this incredible story. But here's the real question we need to ask. Is that what actually happened? Well, let's get into it. Because the reality on the ground, it turned out to be way more complicated. And honestly, a lot more interesting than anybody saw coming. Okay, so what did this settlement actually change? Let's break down the new rules of engagement. Rule number 1. Brokers couldn't advertise the buyer-agent commission on the MLS anymore. That's a huge deal. Rule number 2. Buyers now have to sign a written agreement with their agent right up front, one that spells out exactly how their agent is getting paid. No more ambiguity. And rule number 3, sellers can, still offer to pay the buyer's agent, but that whole negotiation has to happen behind closed doors, privately, off the MLS. So with these new rules in place, the experts were predicting this massive 30 to 50% collapse in commissions. But the reality? Not so much. The industry, it turns out, is pretty clever. Agents and brokers found workarounds almost immediately. A lot of listing agents just started picking up the phone or shooting off an email to communicate those commission offers instead. And the data backs this all up. Just look at the numbers from the first quarter of 2025, right after the new rules went into effect. The average buyer-agent commission was 2.40%. You know what it was the year before? 2.43%. We're talking about a tiny, tiny dip. I mean, that is hardly the commission apocalypse we were all promised, right? But here's where it gets really fascinating. That simple average number, it's hiding the real story. The market is basically splitting in two. Think of it like this. For the fancy million-dollar-plus luxury homes, yeah, commissions are definitely coming down. High-end buyers and sellers have the leverage to negotiate. But for the more affordable homes, under $500,000, commissions are holding strong. They've even gone up a little in some places. And you have to ask why. Well, it's pretty simple. Those buyers just don't have an extra few grand sitting around to pay an agent. So sellers are still feeling the pressure to offer that commission just to get the most people in the door. So if the big story isn't a commission collapse, then what is it? Where is the real drama? It turns out, while everyone had their eyes glued on the agents' paychecks, the real crisis was building up behind the scenes. Yeah, the real victim here isn't the commission rate you see on your paperwork. No, it's the profit margin of the brokerage, the actual company that the agent works for. And this is where things are getting absolutely catastrophic. You got to follow the money to really get this. So imagine a pile of commission money. First, it gets split in half. One piece for the seller's brokerage, one for the buyer's. But it doesn't stop there. Then, each of those brokerages has to split their piece again with the agent who did the work. By the time the brokerage itself gets its cut to pay for, rent, staff, software, all that stuff, what's left is shockingly small. Just how small are we talking? Well, a major industry study found something pretty startling. Most brokerages are running on an average profit margin of just 3%. Let that sink in. 3%. That is razor thin. There's basically zero room for error. When your margins are that tight, any little dip in revenue is a huge, huge problem. And this right here, this is the brutal math that's keeping brokers up at night. Let's walk through it. Say you have a $500,000 house. If the total commission just drops by one single percentage point from 5.5% to 4.5%, the total pot of money shrinks by about 18%. Okay, not great, but manageable, right? Wrong. Now look at the brokerage's actual profit. That tiny 1-point drop in the headline number causes the brokerage's profit on that one deal to collapse by almost 50%. That's the terrifying multiplier effect we're talking about.
But this profit squeeze, it's not hitting everyone the same way.
Not at all. In fact, it's driving this massive wedge right between the two biggest kinds of players in real estate, the big-name franchises and the smaller independent shops. It's really a story of scale versus agility. On one side, you have the big franchise model. It's all about size, brand recognition, but that comes with huge overhead costs, those mandatory franchise fees they have to pay on every deal, and frankly, a lot more legal risk now. And on the other side, you've got the independents. They're all about being nimble, low overhead, they can pivot on a dime, and they're facing way less legal heat from all this. And the pressure on these franchise guys is just immense. We saw one broker post this on a forum online, and it really says it all. He said, "I had to lay off staff. My top agents were leaving for the 100% commission models." I mean, that just perfectly captures the two-front war they're fighting. They're losing money, and they're losing their best people at the same time. You know, for decades, having that big brand name and a fancy downtown office, that was a huge advantage. It was an asset. But today, in this new world, it's becoming a liability. All that overhead, that 6 to 8% franchise fee getting skimmed off the top of every single deal, and watching your best agents walk out the door, it's like the traditional franchise model has become a trap. So, what's the path forward? How do you survive in this new landscape? For a lot of these brokerages, it really boils down to one simple, brutal choice: adapt or die. So what does the new survival playbook look like, especially for the big guys? Well, first, they've got to completely rethink their value proposition. That means drastically shrinking their physical offices to cut costs. It means building their own killer tech that agents can't get anywhere else. They have to stop being just about sales training and become elite business coaching hubs. And finally, they've got to leverage that brand name to launch other services like mortgage and title companies, just to open up new ways to make money. So, when you step back and look at the big picture, this great uncoupling of commissions has really started a great resorting of the entire industry. And it leaves all of us with one final critical question to chew on. In a market this disrupted, a market where the old rules just don't apply anymore, is being fast and adaptable now worth more than just being big? The answer to that question is going to decide who wins and who loses in real estate for the next decade.